13 years have passed since the fourth season of Samurai Jack has ended, but my inner fanboy has not aged. Time has lost its effect on my nostalgia, yet the sufferings of shows that I love continue. Terrible reboots and revivals grasp the past, present, and future. Hope is lost. Got to review Season 5 of Samurai Jack. Hey there YouTube, it's PC the Unicorn. Well, it's over folks. Samurai Jack, one of the greatest animated series of all time, has come to an end. When I first heard the news of Samurai Jack returning so it could get a proper ending, I was both excited and nervous. The excited part came from my exposure to the show growing up. Now, even though I haven't seen every single episode, I remember really enjoying the show due to its combination of fun characters such as the Scotsman and Aku, amazing action scenes, and all of the crazy adventures Jack experienced as he tries to get back to his own time. Heck, I actually discovered the IDW comics a couple of years ago before the revival was announced, and I thought the ending that they did in the comics was very satisfying. Yet I screamed with delight when I heard that there was going to be an animated conclusion to the series. However, I was a bit nervous, and that was due to the recent reboots of Teen Titans and the Powerpuff Girls. I loved both of those shows and I was so excited when I heard that they were coming back. Yet I ended up hating both of the reboots due to how terrible they were. However, when I heard that not only was Gendy going to be the one in charge of the revival, but that the final season was also going to be aired on Adult Swim, pretty much most of my worries disappeared. So, did I find the final season of Samurai Jack to be a total masterpiece with no flaws along with a satisfying ending? Not exactly. Don't get me wrong, I love Season 5 and would totally rewatch it. But there were a couple of questionable decisions and flaws. But before I go over the bad, let's talk about what was good about it. First of all, the show catches you completely by surprise. In the show, 50 years has passed and so many things are different. Jack have lost not only his sword, but also hope and his way as a hero and is now using guns and bombs and riding a motorcycle. All of the time portals are destroyed. Jack is being tormented by his inner demons that are telling him to commit suicide. He is being followed by mysterious samurai ghosts, and Aku has just stopped trying to destroy Jack due to him either growing tired of fighting Jack or becoming afraid of him. Plus, if that isn't enough, there's this crazy cult of Aku worshippers who have trained these 7 girls known as the Daughters of Aku for most of their entire lives with the sole purpose of killing Jack. You would think that with all of the grim and intense things happening that Season 5 would be super intense and dark. But no, even though it is darker and more intense, I wouldn't call Season 5 gritty. Season 5 maintains one of the things that made the past 4 seasons so enjoyable, and that's the balance of story and humor. For example, in the very first episode, we spend the first 15 minutes with this totally new version of Jack who is dealing with the sins of his past and doesn't even go to a town that he saw being attacked until the attack was over. But when he goes to the town, he runs into the super deadly but hilarious assassin Scaramouche, who is voiced by none other than Tom Kenny. His fast-talking personality at first drew me off due to the change in tone, but it quickly brought a smile to my face, in large part thanks to the show taking a quick break from all of the depressing stuff. This scene made me realize that even though season 5 will definitely be different from the other seasons in Tome of Tone, the show will still retain its comedy. Then there's the action. When it comes to action, Samurai Jack is not lazy about it. Thanks to the advancements in technology, the battles in the new season are animated even better than before. Plus, with the rating being TV-14, the fights are allowed to be even more violent and intense, but wisely doesn't tread into gory territory. Some of my favorite fights in this season was the 2 fights Jack had with the Daughters of Aku, the one in which Ashi just completely slaughters an entire army, and of course the final battle between all of Jack's friends and Aku. Now, both Jack and Aku have changed a lot in the 50 years since the ending of Season 4. In Jack's case, he's more stoic, is no longer an active hero, and has just given up hope on ever defeating Aku since he lost his sword. Seeing such a strong-willed person like Jack acting all hopeless makes you wonder what exactly happened that made him this way. And then there was a Lord of Darkness, the ultimate evil, the Master of Masters, Aku. Even though he is no longer actively trying to destroy Jack, he is still as funny as he was in the original. Whether if it was getting upset at the mud people for dirtying his room, contemplating on how to finally kill Jack, or just talking to himself, literally, I enjoyed every second of it. And even though Makoto Iwamatsu is the true voice of Aku, Greg Baldwin does a fantastic job filling in his shoes. There was also Ashi, a new main character and the only surviving member of the Daughters of Aku. Based off of how much the show focused on her more than the other daughters, it was pretty obvious that she was going to be sticking around. What is fascinating about her as a character was that she technically didn't even have a personality at the beginning. She was basically programmed to have 2 traits, love Aku and despise Jack. So seeing her constantly yell and threaten Jack in the 4th episode was absolutely hilarious. However, it was really nice to see her slowly grow into a character as she learned from Jack that everything she was ever taught was nothing but a lie, and got to see the impact Jack have made in so many people's lives when she ran into old friends of his. By the end of her redemption arc, Ashi is this adorable but still butt-kicking character who is curious about the world, is kind, somewhat naive about certain things, and seek to save it from the evilness of Aku so that both she and others can enjoy the beauty of a world without him. Honestly, I thought the entirety of Season 5 was going to be perfect since every episode just seemed to get better and better. That was until episode 8 of the season. By this point, there were only 3 episodes left and there was still plenty of plot threads that needed to be wrapped up. By episode 7, Jack had regained both his sword and confidence, we had a fully redeemed Ashi, saw the return of many familiar faces, and finally learned how Jack lost his sword and confidence in the first place. However, there was still a couple of things that needed to be wrapped up from both the previous seasons and this season, such as the Scotsman recruiting his army, the return of the Guardian, learning who the father of the daughter of Aku was, and who was the mysterious figure that Ashi met when she was looking for Jack. With the exception of learning that Aku was the actual father of Ashi and her sisters, all the other plot threads are pretty much pushed to the sidelines in order to focus on a romance story between Jack and Ashi. Now look, I don't mind this ship. I neither hate it nor love it. I just find it to be okay. But here's my issue with the ship. For one, it was totally unnecessary for the two of them to end up romantically. I love shipping characters as much as the next guy, but I would have been perfectly fine if they just had a very strong platonic relationship. And 2, it slows down the pacing of the story in episode 8 and 9, which then lead to a somewhat rushed finale. Instead of focusing on the romance in episode 8, they could have used that episode to have Jack and Ashley run into the Scotsmen and start recruiting allies to fight Aku, dedicate episode 9 to invading Aku's fortress, and have it in episode 10 in which we have a final epic battle between Jack and Aku. But because of the romance, we ended up with an enjoyable but somewhat rushed ending. 3 things could have been done to solve this issue caused by the romance. There should have either been more than 10 episodes, focus more on the story instead of the romance, or make the finale an hour-long special. Though the romance pushing the other interesting things to the sideline is only one of the many issues with Season 5. Another thing that upset both me and a lot of the fans was the death of the Guardian. Back in episode 32 of the original season, the Guardian said that only one man could defeat him and that the time portal he was protecting showed an older Jack with a long beard and crown. Now, while we may have seen this Jack in the final issue of the IDW comics, we never got to see this version of Jack in Season 5. What made this moment even worse was that the preview of episode 9 hinted that the Guardian would finally be returning. But when Jack returned to the area, all that was left was a destroyed portal and the glasses that the Guardian wore. Plus, that's not even taking into account about how Jack even came across the place the Guardian stood guard at when you consider the fact that the place was originally on an island that was surrounded by water. Maybe Aku did something, but it still makes no sense. But that's not even the end of it. There are still plenty of problems, such as how the heck could Ashley get perfect control of her powers so quickly? I mean, seriously, she suddenly masters her new power and is able to summon a time portal on the spot like it was nothing. Who was that person that helped Ashley when she was looking for Jack? How did drinking Aku essence make Ashley's mother pregnant? It's been shown that whenever someone ingests a bit of Aku, they literally turn into a version of him. So why was it different this time? Isn't Jack technically stuck in a time loop, since if Jack killed Aku, then Ashley would never have been born, thus nullifying the fact that they went back in time? And how the heck did all of Jack's friends organize themselves and arrive at Aku's fortress so fast? I mean, maybe when Aku was contemplating on how to kill Jack, it literally took hours instead of minutes, but the show didn't seem to suggest that. Plus, the final battle between Jack and Aku is short and anticlimactic. These two are arch enemies and they have had tons of fierce battles against each other, such as their fight in the cemetery and swamp. Yet their final battle is just a disappointment. Finally, in this part I'm just kind of nitpicking at, but I think there was a missed opportunity to do something interesting with Aku and Jack's relationship. Think about it. Even though Aku thought that Jack still had a sword, he didn't bother trying to destroy him anymore with robots or bounty hunters. He simply gave up. Plus, he hated it whenever someone mentioned the samurai, like how he killed the Scotsman when he mentioned Jack. Personally, I think Aku may have actually missed fighting Jack, but just gave up realizing he could never win. Sure, Aku is a ruler of the entire planet, but you can only terrorize people so often before it eventually gets boring. Jack was the only thing that actually made Aku's life interesting and made him actively do something instead of just doing the same old routine of terrorizing people. Something of a Batman to his Joker, if you will.
Without Batman, crime has no punchline.
So it would have been really interesting and funny if Aku kept on delaying not killing Jack, since he realized that once he killed Jack, his life would be boring and mundane again. I mean, I didn't want Aku to be redeemed, and I still wanted Jack to defeat Aku, but I just feel like there was something there that could have been explored. But again, this is more of a small nitpick rather than an actual complaint. Now you must think that after that tangent that I didn't like season 5 because of the issues that I stated. On the contrary, I freaking love this season. Sure, it wasn't perfect and maybe I liked the IDW comic ending a bit more, but I still had fun with this season. I'm glad that after all these years that the show finally got the proper ending it deserved. I love seeing the arc that both Jack and Ashley went through, the return of many enjoyable characters such as Aku, the Scotsman, and the Monkey Man, and the more intense and awesome battles. I even screamed with delight when all of Jack's friends started fighting off against Aku, since I imagined that happening all the way back when the original series aired. Plus, it's nice that after all these years, Jack is finally home. Even though Samurai Jack pulled a total Gurren Lagann with that wedding scene. Overall, despite some of my issues with the season, I greatly enjoyed it and would watch it all over again. So I give Samurai Jack Season 5 a solid B+. But what did you think of Season 5? Did it live up to your expectations, or do you have some issues with it? Make sure to let me know by leaving your thoughts in the comments. Also, make sure to subscribe and check out my other videos while also clicking the bell so you can be notified when I post new videos. If you want to hear more of me, make sure to follow me on my social media sites in the description box below. Until next time, this is PC, logging off.